Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. Today, Gretta's Word with Gretta, myself, Leigh, and Carol, and we are very happy to be on Transformation Network every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Listeners, thank you for joining us. These conversations will help you look at your life and your creation of reality to see what you're creating in your life, how it turns up, and perhaps maybe some perspective on how to shift what you're creating. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you're new to the podcast, the quote we will be discussing today is "Open the door and see your greatness." Every week, Gretta downloads a quotation from the Realm of Beings, and she, Carol, and I discuss it. So welcome. Thank you. Ladies, where do we begin? When I say open the door and see your greatness, first I say what door? And my second question is greatness like that old adage, see yourself as greater than the sum total of your parts?
My first impression when I read door was that it's an internal door, not an external door. So it's opening internally to accept your divinity, perhaps. Gretta?
Okay, thank you, Carol. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's talking, because we've been talking on the podcast for, since we've been on here about not looking externally, not looking outside yourself, but looking inside yourself. So that's open the door. That means look, just like you said, look and deep inside yourself, because what happens is that you create your challenges from inside. You solve them through inside. Everything is inside. It's the illusion that it's outside, and your greatness. What is your greatness? I mean, we are tremendous beings. Sometimes we don't think of ourselves as such. We might have chosen to experience being homeless. So therefore, then we don't think of ourselves as great. But we are all great. We are all divinity. I don't care what type of personality that we are showing. We are all great. What do you think, Leigh?
Well, I was thinking that, like I mentioned when we first started, that you are greater than the sum of your parts, right? That's like, to me, sometimes in these small things, there's a little bit of wisdom hidden in there, right? If you can only unpack it. And that's basically, I think, just a cue to, you are not only these parts, you are so much more than that. And it's until we realize that and maybe shift some beliefs, right, where we can start to understand that. I think even if you just think about, if you still want to look at parts and this physicality that we have, I mean, just all of the things that this human form does without us thinking about it is amazing. Trillions of cells doing their thing every day, which I know they're individuals doing their own work, but a lot of people may not see it that way. So all of these, systems working together that we don't have to think about is amazing. And I would definitely categorize that as like part of the greatness, besides all of the other internal things that we have to look at.
And yet we're creating every one of those things, whether we're consciously thinking about it or not. And some of our parts is a good expression that shows we're still trying to strive towards the acceptance of oneness instead of separateness. So maybe that's another synonym for greatness, is oneness.
Oh, that's interesting, because that oneness refers to the force. And what we've been saying here on the podcast is for people to look at themselves as the force. Some people interpret that to be blasphemy, for us to see ourselves as the force, but in actuality, that's what we are. And quite a few of the holy books allude to that, because some of them even say we are made in the image of that which created us. So what does that mean? The force created us. The force created that which we call God. God, however you define God for this universe, Allah, God, Yahweh, however you want to define it. But it still means the same thing. And it still means that it's an entity or entities that were created by the force. So we are in turn gods to ourselves, in a sense. We could say we're gods, we're internal gods, because we're operating like that. Some of us, we would say, those who have, quote unquote, committed murder or stolen things or whatever, we could judge them as being bad, but it's not, we're not judging the internality of that person. We're judging an exterior personality. Yeah.
Right. And one experience in their collective of experiences that we might be seeing right now, which, by no way is the whole, right?
Absolutely. Because sometimes I facilitate for individuals who have chosen to be incarcerated, so when I go into the prisons and see that, I see all of these men collectively, or women collectively, or children collectively as the force. They are the force, even though right now they're incarcerated and for quote unquote heinous crimes against society, supposedly, because there are many people who have chosen to be incarcerated for self-punishment reasons, and they've never committed the crime that they've been accused of. But nonetheless, they have placed themselves in that type of situation. But the thing for us is to look at everybody as the force, to train ourselves to look past the personalities that we are dealing with. I was talking to a woman today who, whose husband is now, has chosen to experience alcoholism, and for years he's been experiencing that now over and over again. But we have to see that person as whole and healthy. See, that's part of opening the door. You not only see yourself, but you see others as well. See, the open the doors, an expansion of your consciousness, expansion of what you want to accomplish through your experience, being who you are at this time. So open the door, yeah. See your greatness, but not only your greatness, but the greatness of others. Yeah, Carol, I feel your brain turn.
Oh, it's churning. when we judge, like you say, heinous crimes or something is bad, or, again, that's purely judgment. And we have to take that step back and remember that we're all here learning lessons, and it always comes to create, support, create. So they might have chosen a way to learn a lesson in a way that might not be as acceptable or as easily palatable to the rest of us, but it's still their lesson to learn, and they're being supported in it. And in a lot of cases, they're the ones being the supporters of someone else's choices of creation of reality. Those that are at the victim side of it, if you want to use that word.
Right, absolutely. And see, and you know what, I've been talking lately to people about reverberation. And I've been talking about create your reality that you create reverberates outward to include so many people. It includes people that you don't even know. Because
like the butterfly effect.
Yes. And like dropping a stone, if you drop a stone into a puddle of water, it's going to have concentric circles going out, out, and out, and out. That's what I'm looking at. It's like dropping a thought into the mix. And when your thought drops into that mix is going to expand and expand and expand and expand. So your decisions reach out to people you don't even know. You don't know how one decision will affect another. You see, how will your decision be supporting others that you don't even know about? And that is possible. So as part of opening that door, which means opening up your consciousness to receive the knowledge of the unconscious. To receive the knowledge of the unconscious, yeah.
Another aspect of that example, Greta, those concentric circles that go out in the water, a lot of them overlap with each other.
That's right.
So again, really showing how your actions and your thoughts will affect others and how others affect you, because there's always an overlap.
Absolutely. It's that overlap, that reverberation. Absolutely. So I always tell people to tag their decisions. This is something new. We've never said it on the podcast before, but to tag your decisions that you make with that these decisions or this decision that I'm making is beneficial for everyone concerned. That is not an original concept from me. It is one of my mentors shared that with me years and years ago when I was first learning about creation of reality. She said, tag it. This decision that I am making is beneficial for everyone concerned. Because that includes the reverberation, you see. You can reach out. It's like buying a ticket for a concert. You've decided to go to this concert. Look how many people you've affected. You've affected every player or participant in the concert who's playing because you're assisting them in their prosperity. So it reaches up, but you don't know those people personally, but they are benefiting from the decision that you made to purchase a ticket, to their concert. Sometimes you make a decision to, let me change jobs. So you leave one job, and what it opens up to is that somebody else can come in and take your place. So you're really sharing your prosperity with somebody, so that's a reverberation as well. But you may not know the person who took your place, but there is going to be somebody that will take your place for that job, unless they just shut the job down. Go ahead, Leigh. I see you moving.
Oh, no, I was just thinking that, if everything is energy, right? And is it, you know, vibration creates the energy creates the matter, and this, you know, this pebble in the pond or puddle is just a, you know, an example of that we can see, right? You're talking about, you know, those rings that go out and that overlap, and there's, you know, on those rings there are peaks and valleys, you know, and sometimes that's where the overlap happens. And so those different rings at those intervals are frequency, right? And that's how all of this is made. And that is just a visual way for the water, wonderful water, shows us that example of what we cannot normally see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nature is just a wonderful thing.
Teacher, right? If we stop to look.
Absolutely. Nature, our mental equivalencies that we create for ourselves, that's also a part. You know, we're able to look at ourselves and see what's sitting in the unconscious mind. That's another door, opening and understanding how the unconscious fits within the framework of our creation of reality.
And I really like what you said about, you know, this journey is about our expansion, right? I mean, if we can maybe open the door to our hearts a little crack, and sometimes maybe opening that door, perhaps for some people, could be easier when looking outward at someone else, if they could change their perspective and just see somebody differently, right? That's kind of like a gateway, a portal to, if you can extend that outwardly, like that's that reverberation, right? It will kind of come back to you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, in that, you know, range, right? If you can just have the compassion in your heart to view another with a little different set of eyes, and, you know, that will reverberate back to you. And maybe, you know, little by little, inch by inch, you can start that door opening.
Absolutely, because when you say open your heart, that means, to me, I'm thinking of unconditional love. So, but when you open your heart, if you look internal first, the love of self is there. Because it's the love of self that assists you in loving other people. It's like I've said on the podcast before, my daughter asked me when she was 6 or 7, she said, "Mom, who do you love the most?" And I told her myself. She was really taken aback by that, because she said, you don't love me? You don't love me, Mom, more than you love yourself?" I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not, because I said to her, how can I love you if I don't love myself? I might speak the words, okay, I love you, but in the meantime, I'm showing myself I can't stand myself. I think I'm the worst person going. I'm creating realities that beat me up, but yet I'm saying to you, I love you. That how does that fit? How can that fit? How can you say you love somebody and you don't even love yourself? That's what I'm looking at. How can you do that?
And isn't it true that, like, you really can't see in others what's not already in yourself? So
Absolutely.
if you don't love yourself, you can't possibly love others.
That's right. You might be able to speak it, but you know what? It's like, isn't it Minnesota is the show me state? Is that it?
I don't know.
Okay, I guess I don't know about my geography, you know, but I've opened us up now for geography lessons. Okay, one of the states says show me, and I think that is such a good adage, because yes, show me. Don't just talk to me that you love me, or show me, and then take the love down to a deeper level. See, that's opening the door as well. What is love to me? How do I love somebody? If you can't love anybody till you love yourself, because you got to appreciate yourself before you can appreciate someone else.
And actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
Another expression.
Absolutely. There are some cultures that they don't even want you to tell them that you love them. They don't want you to even say it, I love you. Because it's not about what you speak, it's about what you do.
Mhm.
How do you interact with me? How do you appreciate me? But if you appreciate me, then I must recognize that you first appreciate yourself.
See, Greta, sometimes when we talk about this on the podcast, it starts my wheels spinning, because when you were talking, I was thinking about, okay, well, how does someone show me, but then that like leads me to think about expectations, right? Well, oh, I expect this kind of behavior or that kind of behavior, right? But then, I mean, still it all boils down to that, here we go, full circle again, to that create support thing, right?
Mhm.
We want to say that someone's not treating me the right way, but they're treating you how you feel about you, right? And it's kind of not possible for them to do something else until you feel differently about yourself, right?
Right, because they must support you
Where you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They've got it, because that's how it works. And this, I call it the protocol of existence, the existence protocol, because I have found that to work in with other beings that are not humanoid, because I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with other types of sentient beings. And that is just such the case. You can be Arcturian, you're still into that create, support, create. The Arcturians are a group of individuals that reside in this universe, to my knowledge. So a Hawthorne, that's another type of individual that lives in this universe. Pleiadian lives in this universe. All of those individuals are all privy to create, support, create. That's why it's the existence protocol. If we leave this universe and we go to another universe, it is still create, support, create still. That's how.
Well, but I mean, that's like that's kind of like the fundamental baseline, right? Because when we talk about like, if everything is just the vibration, and the vibration creates the energy, and the energy interacts to create the matter, regardless of what that matter may be, if it's the Arcturian matter or the Hawthorne matter or the tree on earth matter, it's still the principle that like vibration and energy are coming together to create that, right? It's like you can't escape it. That's just
right.
how this works.
Because the energy is the force itself. I've said before, I had a group of people over at my house and we were talking, and I said, okay, everybody's talking about create the reality. We create the reality. I said, so what do you use to create your reality? And everybody said energy. So I said, okay, so what's your energy? What is this energy you use? What is the energy that you use to create your own reality? And energy is defined, humanoids defined it one way. You go to another place, they're going to define energy somewhere in a different way. Yep. But what is it in the bottom line of it is that it's the force itself.
And everything else is just illusion.
Absolutely. Right. But Carol, it's challenging for people to look at it, right, to say that something is an illusion, because we can touch it. We've been given these senses for our physical body that assist us in buying into the illusions. But when we open that door, then we're going to start to look at, hey, what is this? What is my belief in this? Is this really something that I need to believe in? You know, do I need to believe I'm fact? No, because really, now I know when I say this, everybody's going to look at me like I'm crazy, but you are not your body.
It's true.
You create your body, you create your vehicle. It's like when you get in your car is a vehicle that helps you to move around. Okay, so the body is a vehicle that allows you to move around in this reality. Because I'm not talking dimensions anymore, because I realize that dimensions are a way of you separating everything. So I'm just saying reality. You're in this reality, which is in other realities. You know, it's like the Russian dolls that you have when you have one doll that's inside the other one. And then there's another one, it keeps getting a little smaller and smaller, but they're all inside. That's exactly kind of, it's not that we change sizes, but that's what's happening. We're one inside the other. We're one inside the other. Every reality that we have is one inside the other, because everything is going on simultaneously. Everything. I was talking to a gentleman about the root races, you know, and I told him, I said, well, we're supposedly in the 5th root race. I said, but there's a 4th root race, and you know, there are 4 other root races that evolved before this root race that we are all in. Everybody that's staring at the podcast this morning or listening to it, we're in the 5th root race, y'all. Okay, so there have been other root races prior to this. And it doesn't, when I'm using root race, I'm not using it in terms of your black, white, yellow, green, purple, orange. I'm not using it like that. I'm using it like as far as being. So like for humanoid, huh?
Like they were a species, a different species.
Absolutely.
And some of them didn't even have any physical forms, the earliest root races.
Right. And we have some now that still don't, like the realm of beings. They have they're here with us, and they have no physical form. They're only pure energy, pure thought. They're a species that is pure thought. And, you know, they're using my body as the conduit. So they're using my physical body as a vehicle to be able to speak to people, so people can hear them, you know. So it's the same thing. Greta is like a thought form that is occupying a physical body that she created. This body that I'm in, I created it, and I'm still creating it. And everything inside my body is creating realities. Every cell is functioning, is a being like me. Although I got the big kahuna, you know. I got all the cells inside there working, you know, but each one of them is a being in their own right. Each virus, each molecule of anything is a being in its own right. Yeah. So I guess, go ahead, Leigh.
Oh no, I read something recently and I thought sort of dovetails. Well, there were 2 things. I offer one, perhaps like just perspective shift when you talk about, you know, dimensionality and separation. You know, is it really necessarily separation, or is it like a way humans can conceptualize processes, right? Something like if you talk about a body, this physical, let's just stick with what we are, and we have an organ, you know, this one has a function, that one has a function, this one has a function, but together it's still a whole. But there's different components of that whole. So I was just kind of thinking in that way. And when you were talking about, you know, there's, you know, the realm kind of interacts with you to get their points across. So I was reading something this week that was talking about how, like, the advent of birthdays, that it was a celebration to welcome the genius that has arrived here, which in my opinion is maybe just like another term for the force, right? Like the genius that has arrived here to animate this physical form. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. I like it. Those are my 2 cents. Carol, I mean, do you have any more to add? Shall we take a short, if you don't, you know,
No, I would
should
love to hear from the realm. I think
Okay.
break would be great, as long as
Okay.
Brett's
So
ready.
listeners, thank you for joining us. We'll take a short pause and be right back to hear what the realm has to say about their quotation. Thanks for joining us. Hello, and welcome back to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We've reached the point in the podcast where the realm gets to weigh in on their quote. So, realm, are you present?
Yes, we are
Okay.
definitely here today. Good
Well,
morning.
welcome. So we have been chatting about your quotation, open the door and see your greatness. What do you have to add today?
That door is large. It's a big, big door. And some people find it challenging to open it. They may put their hand on the doorknob of the door and pull, but they can't get it open. And so then they don't know what's on the other side. If you can't open it, then somebody else can come along, put their hand on the doorknob, open it up, peer inside and say, I don't think I want to go in there. Then they'll step out and close the door back again. Then there's going to be another person that's going to come, put their hands on the doorknob, turn it, open up the door. They're going to look inside and say, wow, let me go in there. I want to see that. So you have to have courage to open that door. Just, it's not going to open up for you. You must open it. And sometimes fear keeps us from opening the door and going inside. We don't want to step even our little toe, we don't want to put in there. Why? Because when you open up that door and you step inside, you learn that you create your own reality and that you are responsible for your own development. And that you are responsible for everything that happens to you personally. And some of us don't want to accept that responsibility. So that's going to be the person who will put the hand on the door and look and say, no, I'm not going in there. Or it can also be the person who puts a hand on the doorknob and can't even get the doorknob open. Because every step you're creating not to open the door, you're creating to open the door and just look in, and you're creating to open the door and step in. We encourage you to step in, accept responsibilities for yourself, because there are no mistakes. And in this, there is no failure.
You cannot fail in anything here because you created all. You've created things that your emotions and your thoughts have supported. You have done that, no one else. Now, you may choose to support others, other people in their adventure. This is an adventure. This is an adventure of courage. This is an adventure of fortitude. Be strong in your stepping through the door. Be strong. And because see, opening the door and see your greatness, that means you're seeing your divinity. You're seeing that you create. You create. Nothing else creates for you. You create. That's your greatness. When you don't understand that that you feel that you don't create your own reality, you are denying yourself to realize your greatness. So what if you do something that you say, oh, wow, I wish I hadn't done that? That's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. You know, some people think boundaries. They want to put boundaries up about everything. I want to put a boundary up for this person. I want to put a boundary up in reference to my boss. Why? Because you're scared. A boundary exudes fear. You don't have to fear anything because when you create something you don't like, just change it. And we've been talking about how the different ways you can change things, but the main thing is change your thought. Yes, Leigh, you were going to say something.
No, it's Carol Realm. I was going to mention when you used the word courageous that most probable fear is fear of the unknown, which is what would cause someone to not want to open that door. How does, now you just said change your thoughts, but how does one do it to overcome that fear?
Some people, it will take what you call years. Some of us have the same fear. We keep doing it over and over and over and over again. But eventually, within that experience called life, that is continuous, by the way, you will reach a point where you will want to see your greatness. You will want to examine it. For instance, all the people that are listening and watching this podcast are people who want to, they have stepped through the door. They have stepped through the door. And they're listening and they are trying to learn things for them to support their greatness. You see, when you're learning these things, this is supporting your greatness. If you're plugging up your ears so you can't hear it because you're afraid, then you're living in so much fear that you can't even live your life, you see. And when I say live your life, I'm saying live your life with the understanding that you are great. Live your life with the understanding that you are divine. Therefore, you have no fear of anything. Fear will take its place in the state of illusions, where all those wonderful emotions kind of sit. They're illusions. They're illusions to help us learn lessons. We came into this space, including the realm. You know, remember, we've said that we create our own reality as well. Like right now, one thing that we are creating is to speak to the podcast audience. Gretta is giving us the support. you see. She's supporting us in our creation of reality, which is to speak to the audience who's listening and looking at the podcast. We as the realm want to thank you. Thank you for being expansive. Thank you for being open. You have opened the door and you have stepped inside. So we are grateful for you. And we honor your divinity, each one of you. And we honor your greatness. And we want you, our focus is that you will also honor your greatness. You see, sometimes when you step into that door, it doesn't mean that you're going to be happy, quote unquote, happy all the time. It doesn't mean that you're going to be sad all the time either. Sometimes you're going to go through periods where you're just neutral about the whole thing. And that's okay too, because that is another experience. Every experience that you have supports you in your greatness, even when you don't open the door.
Realm, can you speak to the chaos that could perhaps ensue when you go into that door? Because initially when I envision it, it's like you walk through and it's like rainbows and butterflies and birds. But I think when you take a big perspective shift like that, you may have to destroy some old things that are no longer working for you. And can you speak to that a little?
Well, you don't destroy because it's energy.
Well, recreate, restructure.
Restructure. Yeah, I like
but sometimes that restructuring, you have to take things apart and it becomes a big mess, like organizing a closet before you can put it back together in a different way, right? Think of new paradigms, see things differently.
Right. If you see it as a mess, it's going to be a mess. If you see something difficult, it's going to be difficult because that's what you're creating. Even though you've opened the door now, does not mean that you have no lessons. It means that you understand the lessons better.
Mm.
You understand your part in the lesson better. You see. Mm-hmm. So when you say that paradigm, yes, it helps you to change your paradigm more consciously. It helps you to change your thoughts more consciously. You see.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Would the next logical step then be, after you've passed through that door, to just continue moving forward, go into it deeper, which is really going into ourselves deeper?
Yes, you've chosen two things opposite to each other, Carol, in that discussion, because you said forward and then you said deeper.
Yeah, I know forward doesn't exist.
Right. We are only in the now, but the noun is a journey internal. You see, when you go open that door and you step inside, you're saying, okay, I'm going deeper into myself. And that's why we say have courage and fortitude. You're going deeper into yourself. It's not an outward motion. It is a deeper inside motion, because that's where you're going to your core of your being, which is the force. So you're going deeper in understanding your divinity. You're going deeper in understanding, how do I use my divinity in a state of illusions? You see. But the first thing to do with that is to recognize it is an illusion. And take ownership of your contributions to the illusion. As you understand your contributions to the illusions, then you begin to understand that, hey, I can change that. That's an illusion. I can just wipe it off. Put it up on the chalkboard and take an eraser and just erase it. Or put it up on the whiteboard and just erase it. However, is what we said to Leigh, nothing ever dies, nothing ever goes away. It stays there, but you don't have to use it. If you have scissors, you can cut out the paper doll, but you don't have to cut the tablecloth that the paper doll is sitting on. Then some people would want to cut the paper doll and cut the tablecloth, you know. So you always have that choice. And the choice of maybe I'm just not going to cut the paper doll at all. I'm going to tear the paper doll out. Choice. If you tear the paper doll out and you happen to tear off a limb or a head or it's dangling, that's okay. You just have to create a new paper doll. If you cut it with the scissors and you make a mistake, you just create a new paper doll. That's all.
Realm, in a more realistic, and I use that word hesitantly, realistic, because everything's illusion. But if we believe that we are creating our reality and our illusions, and let's say one of us is experiencing lack of prosperity and we want to overcome that, so we think in terms of, you know, I am not going to create lack anymore. But when a bill is due and you don't have the physical cash to pay that bill, how do you overcome that challenge?
Well, first of all, in order to deal with that issue, you have to start to change the thought in the first place. So you don't think that you have lack. You must think what you want first. You must focus on what you want first. Sure, that bill is there, but maybe instead of paying $250 on that bill, the people that's prosperity, you're circulating prosperity to them and talking to them and say, I can pay 10. But because you don't see yourself in lack, they're not going to see you in lack, and they're going to support you and say, sure, give us 10. That'll work for right now. You see, create. You get down into the murk and mire of lack. I don't have this money. I need money. When you say I need money, that's also lack. That's also lack, because you don't recognize that you have it. So the thought then becomes, I have money to do the things I need to do and more. Notice I said, and more.
No limits.
Right. So because the only person who brought you into a lack is yourself. You had to create the lack, otherwise it couldn't be there. How do you not create lack? The first thing you do is change your thought and get out of thinking, I don't have enough money. Get out of thinking, I need money. I need this. If I don't get this, I'm not going to be able to do this or this or this. No. See it. See it. Focus. I have money. You'd be surprised. It's like Gretta. We were with Gretta a long time ago. You know, we've been with her since she was a child, a baby, in fact. But one time she was in a class and some people came, 2 women. They had not really talked. They were in a metaphysical class. They had not talked
to each other about it, but each one went home and said, I just want a little bit of money. Both of them did without knowing that the other one was thinking that. So when they came back to class with Gretta, then they said that one was finding nickels and dimes and quarters all over the place. And so was the other one, because they both asked, I just want a little bit of money. So the energy supported them. Here's a penny. Here's a quarter. Here's a nickel. You see. And they just found change all over the place. But that was because when they said, I just want a little bit of money, they already were delving into the concept of lack.
And they didn't define what they perceived little to be.
Absolutely.
They probably thought a few $1,000s as a little, as opposed to a few million, but just the word little already took away their possibilities.
Absolutely. So when you say, how can you create the reality, deal with thought, because that's the beginning of the reality. The emotions come to support the thought, but it's the thought first. Remember that. It's the thought first. Change your thought. You can change your thought about anything. If you are a person that is experiencing an illness of some sort, a dis-ease, then think the thought is, I am healthy. Then guess what? After you speak it enough, the cells in your body are going to hear it, and they're going to go, oh, he wants us to think healthy. All right, we're healthy. We're healthy, everybody. They're going to spread the word. We're healthy. You see. But if you think, oh, I'm sick, I'm failing fast, then every cell in your body is going to say, we're fading. Everybody get ready. We're fading. We're fading fast. Because they must support you in your desire to fade. So focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Think about what you want, not about what you don't want. If you don't want lack, then don't think lack. Don't create lack. If you don't think it, you can't create it. Things are only created by way of thought. Thought. Now we're not, of course, we could go into all your neurons, your neurotransmitters. We could go into all of that central nervous system, your brain. We could go into all of that, but the bottom line is thought. Pure thought. What thoughts are you thinking? And if you're thinking very challenging thoughts about another person, remember that what you think is in you first. The ladies, both you and Leigh and Gretta Carol talked about that. You definitely emphasized it. You can't see it in somebody else unless it's in you first. So watch your thoughts. Don't focus on lack of any sort. Being in quote unquote challenging health, that's a lack of health. So think that you're healthy, and then your body is going to eventually move into that. You're thinking healthy, you're healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. Think that. Think I am love of self. I love myself. I am healthy. I love myself. I am healthy. That's the thought. I love myself. I am prosperous. I am opulent. That's more than abundance. I am opulent prosperity. Notice how my language, we said, I am opulent prosperity. That is part of that opening the door. I am. And then you add the word experiencing, which keeps you deep, 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 deep into that. See?
Realm,
Yes.
thank you we're getting ready to wrap up this podcast. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. And
You're welcome.
Carol, thank you for being here. Greta as well. Most importantly, listeners, thank you for joining us on another podcast of Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. Until we create each other again, be well.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.